Or is it a lot of Florida here, I think, is the big question.
And I think if you're watching in Florida right now, you're thinking, oh, well, it's just a tropical depression. I mean, we expected this to weaken as it moved over the Dominican Republic, but this will intensify. It still has some time. It has some warm water ahead of it. So even though if we don't see those really strong wind speeds, we still have a whole lot of water. And who is going to see the biggest impacts? Again, this is the center. We will see impacts pretty much all throughout the peninsula of Florida because this will be an eastern loaded side storm as the center of this track's very close to the Gulf side. That's going to push a lot of moisture into areas like Miami, South Florida, and even portions of Orlando and up into Jacksonville will likely see some rain at some point from Fred. This is the European model, and it's painting a wetter picture for areas like the Keys up into Miami, 3 to 5 inches of rain, but this keeps a lot of the rain just off the Gulf Coast and over the ocean. That is an ideal situation, but as we go into the American model, slightly different picture here. It still keeps a lot of rain in South Florida, a little bit more for Miami, potentially 5 to 8 inches of rain. But this also keeps a lot of the heavy rain just off the Gulf Coast. Again, that's ideal. Areas like Tampa, the Nature Coast have seen upwards of close to 10 to 12 inches of rain over the past 14 days. Some areas even seeing more. So certainly any more additional rainfall from Fred, it's just not welcome at this point. Severe thunderstorms picking up throughout the day today and especially tomorrow for areas Tampa, West Palm Beach, Miami, especially over into Fort Myers. That's where we could see the banding of Fred move through with some thunderstorms embedded in that with some gusty winds, potentially some isolated tornado spin-ups too. Because we have that threat, there's a torcon of two for a lot of South Florida for tomorrow. So let's take you through the timing of this. Potentially a lot of that rain starting to move into Miami and portions of South Florida for tomorrow and the first half of tomorrow. This is 2 p.m. Just look at this big fetch of moisture that's being pushed right into the Miami area. And this has some very tropical origins in it. So you're going to be talking about some very heavy rain moving into the I-95 corridor, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, over into Fort Myers as this spins and continues to move to the west into portions of the northwest. We still have some rain moving right into Miami by the time we get to Saturday evening. I think we will see some improvements for South Florida by the time we get to Sunday. The wind, not a huge concern. It's certainly there. I think the flooding is going to be the big deal for South Florida. Flash flooding potential not only for tonight, but as we go into tomorrow, even taking you all the way through the weekend. And the rainfall just continues for a lot of the peninsula and the severe thunderstorms. But it's not just Florida, Chris. We also have to talk about the southeast because once this continues past the panhandle, this is going to bring in areas like Georgia, Alabama, even potentially the Carolinas. Pretty fast, already starting to see some of those far outer reaching bands of Fred, but over the next 12 hours or so, you'll start to see more rain. And then by Saturday afternoon, just look at this mess from Miami stretching down through Key Largo, Marathon, all the way down to Key West. A lot of tropical moisture moving on shore as Fred, potentially the center of Fred, spreads right over the Keys as it kind of limps along. We're going to see exactly where the center will go, but at this point, it doesn't really matter because we're going to see moisture over South Florida no matter what, no matter which direction this takes. So we're talking about 3 inches of rain across the Keys, potentially more in areas like Miami up into Marco Island where we could see up to 4 inches of rain. We will have some thunderstorms training across a lot of these same areas, so it's very likely that we do see some locally higher amounts in this. And within those thunderstorms, we could see some higher gusts, but the wind from what will be potentially tropical storm Fred at this point is not as much of a concern as the water, Chris. It's really just painting a very soggy picture for the weekend in South Florida. On America's Morning Headquarters, I'm meteorologist Molly McCollum.
And a meteorologist Alex Wall. Stories of hope and survival continuing to emerge.
To get out of their houses and get out of the way. Thank you, Reynolds. We want to talk about the forecast going on for the southeast because you just heard Reynolds mention areas like Waverly and Tennessee likely escaping the rain today. That is not the case for a majority of the southeast. In fact, we have a very wet pattern in place. It's late August. It's summertime. We expect this, but certainly a little additional moisture is what we're expecting in Florida today. Most of the activity this morning is off the coast of the Carolinas, as well as the coast of Georgia. That's going to be one of the areas that we're watching later this afternoon for some sea breezes to start to fire up and then move inland, potentially bringing some very heavy rain, some gusty winds and some lightning. But also look at Florida. We'll see these kind of start to fire up along Apalachicola, the Panhandle, and some sea breezes along the Tampa area, pushing across the peninsula, moving into areas like Jacksonville all the way down to Orlando for the second half of the afternoon and into the evening. So this is our pattern right now. This is why we have some extra moisture in place. Our Bermuda high over the Atlantic is steering a lot of that tropical moisture to the west, but we will see a slight pattern change as we go into the second half of the week, and the culprit is actually going to be this upper level low pressure. You can see it swirling here on water vapor. That's going to continue to push to the west, and with it is a whole slug of tropical moisture. So our rain chances will actually go up as we head towards the second half of the week, and the combination of that moisture getting funneled in from our low pressure and our high pressure in conjunction. So 2 to 3 inches of rain. I think we'll see our highest amounts along the Atlantic side of Florida and then up into coastal Georgia as well as the coastal Carolinas. Scattered storms possible pretty much all along the southeast, extending over into Alabama and southern Mississippi. I'll tell you where they could use some rain, and that is over in western Mississippi and central Mississippi, where rain would bring some relief for the heat, where it could feel as hot as 115, Alex, this afternoon.
Oof.